So time flies when you're having fun, right? That's that's a phrase we hear in fun. It also we hear it in work when you have a routine. But I want to focus on the fun part. All right. And as a former heavy gamer, I played a lot of games, and as the years went on, games got more intense and they took a lot more time. And then mine was Dota 2. The problem with that game is games they typically last like 45 minutes to an hour. That game feels like 10 minutes. And all right, I'll play two. Those two games feel like 10 minutes, and you want more and more and more. That is applied to a lot of the entertainment these days. Like we have streaming services, any show you want, any movie you want, any game you want, right? You don't even have to go to the store to get the games anymore, but they just never satisfy. You then now we have the I guess the job slash work slash life routine thing. Time feels like it's fast because we are doing the same thing. Like we get a job, maybe out of college, or maybe we've gotten a couple new jobs, but we get used to it, we get into the routine, and time just boom, like blurs by. So we have these two events, two time frames in our lives. On a micro scale, we have our day, it kind of goes in a rush, and then we want to enjoy it at night, and that also goes in a rush, and then we're like, oh, where did the time go? And then on a macro scale, we have, unfortunately, our lives, which is like, okay, out of college, I get this job. It's been 5, 10, 20 years, and it just feels like a blur because you're doing the same thing over and over again. So why does that happen? On a scientific level, I heard this thing from Joey Justice, shout out. I don't know if you're ever going to watch this, but there's this thing called temporal compression, right? Our brains are efficient. So what that means is that once you figure out something, your brain needs less energy spent to do that same thing again. Now that's fine for like speaking or tying your shoes or writing your name, or if you play a sport or if you play an instrument. That's just your brain getting better, but that should also scare you, right? Like if your entire life is that, where you don't even notice any highs and lows in there, and just time blurs by. That should scare you. Now, when did everyone, including you, when did everyone not have this problem? Childhood, right? When you were a kid, time just seemed to slow to a crawl. Now that's probably, or your time moved at a crawl. You're literally crawling, but there's a lot of new things happening, right? You were born, you have this body you have to figure out. You have this language that you have to figure out. Like nobody actually sits down and teaches you language as a toddler, right? You just figure it out from input. You have to learn how to walk. You have to learn how to tie your shoe. You have to learn how to put your clothes on, go to the bathroom, all these different things. That actually keeps going through school, new subjects, sports, high school, you have a team, more subjects, college, intramural stuff, harder subjects, new job, oh, we got to learn again. And then we all just kind of stop. Like, why? I just said, we just put it in a routine because we get used to it. So how do we counter all this stuff, right? We need to return to that childlike baseline, right? And that's going to require a dopamine detox that I always talk about. So with dopamine detoxing, it's all the rage these days because I think people are waking up, they have heard or they understand, like, okay, maybe all this entertainment isn't good for me. Maybe my screen time being in the double digits every day probably isn't good for me, right? And unfortunately, I don't know why, there are arguments against dopamine detoxing. First of all, people will be like, well, you can't totally detox from dopamine because your brain makes it. I'm like, okay, why don't we just rephrase it as high stimulating activities, for one. Number two, people will say, well, if you take that out, and you come back to it, there's a problem with that phrase I'll get back to in a second. When you come back to it, you're going to want it more. That's just your monkey mind wanting it again. But to say that is to say, well, if you stop eating cake, you're going to want to eat cake every day. So you should have cake in moderation, maybe 3 times a day. I don't think so. You could, shocker, just not reintroduce that stuff either at all, right? Like your ancestors didn't have Steam or Netflix, or you just have it and you just control how much you're having. And I'll go through tips actually on how to do that. So this is like how to slow your time down in life, and actually a way to do it in your workouts too. So we're going to have to dopamine detox, and I'm going to give you the steps because like I said, a lot of people know this stuff isn't bad for them. Unfortunately, they'll just be like, well, I'm going to quit Instagram for ever, right? I don't know, delete my account or fast from 30 days, but then it's like, what are you going to do after that? I'm going to give you a solution, because I think the better way to approach it is to not just say, I'm going to quit, right? I'm going to use myself as an example. I said I'm going to get to the steps, but I'll get there. When I quit gaming as much, like I'll just use Dota 2 as the biggest example. When I quit, I didn't say I'm never going to play again. It just so happens to where I actually haven't played in, it's about to be 4 years. But there was no rule to never quit, because your brain's going to be like, I don't want to, don't do that to me. I said, I'm going to give it 90 days and see how I feel. And then I also said I get to play whatever else I want, any other game I want. Sadly, my brain was so fried, nothing else felt fun, so I quit everything. But even still, I'll dabble sometimes. The way my life is I've set up, I really don't have time to throw in 2 hours a night because I'm up early making like videos and working out. Anyway, so here are the dopamine detox steps. Okay, here we go. Number 1, you need some goal. You need to know what you want out of this, because when you eliminate a bunch of stuff, you're going to have this void. Okay, I know everyone doesn't like, I don't like watching TV as much. I don't like how much time I spend on my phone. Okay, focus on what you do want. You're probably only going to be spending like 10 or 20 minutes on that thing, and work from there. And then we're going to chop everything down based on that. So the first thing we need to deal with, that everybody has a problem with, right? Not everybody likes watching TV. Not everybody likes playing video games, but everyone has a phone, most people. So I'm going to give you some steps here. Number 1, I don't really know what social media you use. This one is kind of big for Instagram. Facebook, maybe not so much, because that's your friends and family. It should be. But you need to follow fewer people, okay? You're probably not, you don't need to follow as many people as you do, because when you go and see their stories, you think, oh, I need to watch everybody. First of all, don't do that. Second of all, you don't really need to follow everybody, okay? I'm like, obviously working out, but like I was following The Rock and Matt Frazier and a couple other like weightlifters or CrossFitter guys. And then I was like, who I follow doesn't determine what I need to go out and work out and do, right? So if you really wanted to see what's happening in their lives, you'll just have to search them later, but unfollow a bunch of people. Give yourself a time limit. I think everyone, if you gave yourself an hour of social media every day, that's a lot, first of all, but that's enough. I would work up to chopping it down even more, like 30 minutes. That's probably good for a lot of people. And there's ways to have that feel like enough. The other thing is set a physical barrier. So when you're working out, don't use it. Like, please don't scroll on social media when you're working out. Or when you're working, just keep it away from you. And then the last thing is notifications. For as many apps as are possible, turn the notifications off, especially social media. Like, if you make a post and you're like, I'm excited to see how many people liked it, you're going to get that little notification every single time you get a like. Please don't do that. All right. I don't know what else you have to do in the day, but that's going to wreck your attention span. And it's just not fair. Like, people that aren't really in your immediate contacts, like your text and your phone calls, why do they need a little ping access to you? They don't. All right, so turn all those off. And then later when you go into them, you're like, oh, I have a bunch of saved up notifications. Let me actually get them in. I had something to say about the phone thing, but I think I'll just move on. All right. So we have the phone. Follow fewer people, time limit, give it away from you, turn off notification. Then we have entertainment. All right. And I think this will cover both the things. But like I said, you should have a goal. Again, with the entertainment, I wouldn't cut it out completely, but just reduce it. You can set this up to where if I work on my goal for a little bit, 10, 20, 30 minutes in the day, I get to have my entertainment. Now, don't let that be an all day thing. Start with like 2 hours, like do this. You start with 2 hours allowed. You could honestly watch a movie every night if you really wanted to. Then you cut it down to 1 hour a day. And then you cut it down to maybe 30 minutes. I don't know what you can do in 30 minutes. From there, you can move it to weekends only, probably Friday and Saturday, so you're not having a late Sunday night before Monday. You could have longer stretches, like we're talking about building up to this, but like you work on your goals for the month, and then on the last 3, 4, 5 days of the month, you just kind of just get your binge in. And then you could do that every quarter. You could even take out entertainment at all. Wow, shocking. But your ancestors didn't have it. You'll be fine. There are people like Ben Patrick of ATG. He took out entertainment for like 400 some days, so it is possible. All right, so those are the biggest categories of what to take out. Obviously, I think you should know, probably don't spike your excitement with junk food. Now we're going to talk about what to add in. You should have a goal in mind. I keep saying that. And I don't know what goals to give you, but since we talk about working out, why don't you give yourself a physical goal? I want to lose X amount of weight. I want to show up this many times to work out. I want to add this much to my lifts, something like that. What do you do with all this free time now? You read, okay? Like I have attempted 75 hard in the past. I didn't finish it, sorry, but one of the rules was reading 10 pages a day. And I feel like for my past self, that felt like a chore, depending on the book. But you start getting into a rhythm, and it feels like, okay, I could do a chapter a day. And it's like, oh, what do I read? Read according to what your goals are, okay? If whatever goal you have, someone has figured it out, get like the top 3 or 5 off Amazon or Kindle, read those. Or if you're really not sure, just get generic, like motivational stuff, right? Self-help. Everyone kind of rolls their eyes at it, but I'm just like, okay, most people have positive outlook on life. Why don't we reverse that? So you read, and then you work out. Now I always say we should know. Okay, yeah, I know to work out. There are 2 ways. We talk about slowing time down. There are 2 ways to kind of make your workouts more sinister, but it'll also actually increase your focus. So the first one is whatever workouts you already have going on, don't use any audio, right? That's going to seem kind of harsh, but podcasts, music, like your own special playlist. I don't even know if like people are listening to entertainment as they go, but your workouts are sacred, okay? And this is especially true if you're like training, like strength training, whether you're trying to increase reps on body weight, movements, do new movements, or add weight on the barbell. Those short periods should be intense. Now, the bad part about lifting is that you'll have a lot of downtime, right? And then what do people do on their downtime? Let me just scroll. Please don't do that, one. And then you want to not teleport your brain into somewhere else to have to bring it back and refocus for the next set, okay? Sit down, relax, think about what you just did, and get ready for the next set. Now, it's going to feel like forever, but, that's much First of all, it's really good for your brain to focus. Second of all, you'll be able to have more intensity in your workout, and you'll waste less time. Right? Don't cool down and sit around 10 minutes because you scrolled. And then the second way in your workout is to do like time-based things. All right. If I just said no audio and you're already like a distance runner, it's going to feel like torture. And okay. And then for my strength trainees, I like to lift, but one of the problems is that you just kind of your squat set lasts like 30 seconds, and you have this big time in between, and that's fine. Okay, but you're kind of just training like work hard, rest, work hard, rest. There are other things you can do that are time based. Like you don't have to go out jogging, but I'm going to give you 3 options: like walking / rucking. Even like 10 to 20 minutes may feel like forever if you don't have any audio going on. Carries is another one. You pick up like kettlebell or suitcase. They can be like up to here, up to your chest, or suitcase carry. Walk 10 yards, walk back, put it down, repeat that for 10 minutes. Or you start crawling, right? 10 minutes on your hands and knees. When that gets easier, 10 minutes on your hands and feet, only keeping your head up. And I guarantee you, those last, actually all 3, they're going to feel like an eternity for some people because you just haven't given your brain that space to just like suffer. It shouldn't be too hard, but like in the 5 to 7 out of 10, just like suffering for 10 minutes, and you're just like, man, I don't want to do this. You talk yourself out of it. You're not in any danger, but you have something kind of intense, medium intense, that you just kind of have to endure through. And guess what? You get done and you feel great. And I guarantee you that's going to make time slow to a crawl, literally. Just because we may not, all my lifters, you may not be used to that kind of thing. But I picked those 3 because they're not going to be so taxing to where it's not going to beat you up, okay? Like, I'm not saying go run out in the street for 3 miles to beat your knees up, okay? Just something a little intense, just to have gentle conditioning, okay? So that's it. Now, with the whole detox talk, people are going to be like, well, when do I get to have fun, right? You're talking about taking out all my fun, adding and reading, and working out, yuck. None of this stuff sounds fun, okay? To which I say, what is fun to you, right? What we all think of as fun is stuff that is so hyper-stimulating that it's unnatural, okay? I loved playing Dota 2, but I'm just like, that's just going to make the rest of life feel dull, okay? I mean, honestly, talking about mental health, you want to make your life feel better, take out the stuff that adds too much of a spike, and then just be in this middle area like you were as a kid. And then the second thing is you think that all work is something that you're going to have to hate, right? I talked about working on your goal just for a little bit. I think, yeah, that's what I was going to say. So if you wake up and work on a goal you have, if you wake up 30 minutes earlier, right? Let's say working out, and you work out for 10 minutes, just 10 minutes. Don't you feel good afterwards? And that kind of, honestly, if you do it in the morning, the rest of your day feels good. Like, I did what I said I wanted to do. You want to get into coding, wake up, work on it for 20 minutes, you're like, oh, I'm doing it. You wake up the next day and do it, and you get delirious because you're like, I'm doing this. Look at me. You do it for a week, you go insane. I kind of got that from Jim Rohn. But yeah, those little small wins every single day, they start to add up. You start to feel better. And it doesn't have to take much time, okay? You work on, like if you wanted to write, you say, okay, I don't really know where to start. I'm just going to say 10 minutes. You do the best you can for 10 minutes. Workouts too. You just repeat it the next day and the next day. And I guarantee you, those 10, 20 minutes are going to feel more fulfilling, not stimulating fun, more fulfilling than watching Netflix for 3 hours at the end of the night. Right? Nobody does that at night and like, I feel good about myself. No, you're just like, you probably stayed up too late and you're going to feel bad the next day. But you just have this thought in your head, like I used to, that would say, I feel like I could have spent this time better, but I just didn't. And then you go on autopilot and you do it again, right? Like I had 6,000 hours of Dota time. I could have spoken 3 languages by now. So that's it. Talk about fun and work. The solution to fake fun and work you hate is to find work that feels fun. Okay, it is possible. Now, I feel like working out is a baseline for most people. If you want to get into some sort of hobby and you're not sure where to go, you just have to find it for yourself. Right? There's no other option. You just got to keep looking. And if you try something and it's not sticking, keep looking. All right. That's it. That's how to slow your time down. All right. You take out all the stuff that makes it go too fast, you add in things that are kind of hard that make time move to a crawl, and you become a kid again. That exploration comes back. Whew, that was a good one. Thanks for watching. Newsletter of this video version is down in the description. If you want to train with me one-on-one, yes, I'll take people on. Let me know. I'll put comments down there. I'll put a questionnaire in there. Honestly, since I'm restarting coaching, I will do it for free for anyone that actually responds to me. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.